Hello there. Welcome to the Kind of Funny Screencast, our weekly show where we talk about TVs, movies, movie trailers, all that fun stuff. This week, I'm your host, Joey Noel. If you're looking for the usual crew, the Tim Gettys, as you would say, the boys will be ranking and reviewing Miss Marvel alongside all of the other MCU shows and movies later this week. But for this week, you get me and my two illustrious guests, one, Tamor Hussein.
Yo.
And one Barrett Courtney.
Hey.
How are you guys doing this week? I'm excited to talk to you. I feel like I haven't gotten to talk about the show at all, so I'm excited to hear what you guys think about everything. But before we jump into that, I would like to thank our Patreon producers for this month: Molecule, Fargo Brady, Gordon McGuire, and Al Tribesman. This week we're brought to you by ExpressVPN, Chime, and Athletic Greens, but we'll talk about that later. I want to start with Barrett Courtney. Barrett, you are in the same position as me. You haven't shared your thoughts on Miss Marvel at all this season.
Yeah.
So I want to get
Tam is
your
the senior
thoughts
here on
I
this
know.
Kind of Funny show, which is such an interesting
I would like to
situation.
be referred to as Senpai the entire time,
Tam
please.
is
Thank you.
senpai on this episode. Yeah, I've been enjoying Miss Marvel this for the first 5 episodes. I think they're somewhere in the middle, which I think for a lot of these like 6-episode Disney Plus shows that like was kind of like not struggling in the terms of it feeling slow, but it felt like a lot of things got like kind of like breezed past like really quickly, of like her being at the kind of like training academy and that whole like training montage stuff, learning more about the people that are from like the different dimension and stuff like that. But besides that, I've been really enjoying the show. It has a lot of great characters, chemistry between those characters, and just like a lot of heart. It's been really cool for me, who grew up in the American education system, right? Being able to experience a superhero show that's surrounding another culture, that I wasn't properly taught about growing up, and having that being framed like in the whole superhero realm thing, but actually like bringing in like very real things, like learning about like the partition and stuff like that throughout history, and like having that feed into Kamala and like her character growth and her becoming this superhero. The whole last episode stuff with like her traveling back in time, seriously, is some of the coolest stuff I think we've seen in Phase 4 so far. And I think for this episode specifically, for the finale, I haven't been listening to the screencast reviews, but I tweet out for us. So when Tim sent me his tweet, like I think his tweet last week was, he was concerned that the last episode was just going to be, a fight with one person between another person who has the same powers but like a different color. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I guess I could see that's where the show could be going. And I like that that's not really what happened. Like,
Yeah.
I think this final episode did a really good job at sticking true to what the core of the show has always been, and not falling into the trap a lot of other Marvel Disney Plus shows have fallen into, of they have such a unique like tone and kind of structure for a Marvel story, and then they fall into the kind of basic Marvel third act problem, as a lot of other basic Marvel movies and shows do. But this one didn't. I felt like this really stayed true to growing this community of people, and even with the kind of I wouldn't even call him a villain, but with the kid, and dealing with his mother leaving and all that stuff, and how realistically they're going to deal with that as a community, and like as these kids helping each other out. I really loved this final episode.
I love it. Tam, recap me on your feelings about the season and then what you thought about the finale.
Yeah, so my feelings on this season are I really enjoyed it. I think a lot of what Barrett said hit the nail on the head, and I've talked about this previously. It's a very distinct show from everything else that has come before it. Both, I think, very distinct from pretty much the entire MCU. The only thing that I would describe as like similar in comparison is perhaps Shang-Chi and Black Panther, which are obviously, these three stand out as like very close to the kind of cultural inspiration that they draw from, and they're very confident in representing that. I think Miss Marvel of them all is perhaps the most confident in taking the kind of culture and the kind of aesthetic that it's leaning into and representing it on screen. I think regardless of like Black Panther obviously takes place in Wakanda, and obviously there's a lot of the kind of black aesthetic culture kind of history represented there. Shang-Chi is a little more Asian American, which makes a lot of sense, but it's not as distinct because there are parts where they travel around the world. Whereas this feels like a more intense kind of representation of the Pakistani Muslim experience within Jersey City, which is really cool for me. I feel like the Marvel part of it is probably the thing that I'm most back and forth on. I think the thing that really it struggles with is a villain story. I feel like the villain story wasn't that good in this series. But I ultimately, having finished this episode, I realized that the villain story, it doesn't need a villain. It doesn't need I don't know, Aldrich Killian or a Thanos or anyone like that, a Killmonger. It's a story about a community and a people and Kamala finding her place within the world and society and family, and it's a story that that kind of theme, those themes and that kind of narrative arc and characterization would probably have been done a disservice if a big monster from the Jinn world appeared and they had to fight it together. But this episode, I think it's a very strong episode for that part of it, the representation, cultural representation, the establishment of Kamala Khan as a character, the establishment of her family as a unit, and her family being more than just her blood relatives, but also her friends. It kind of like reminded me by the end of it in the same way that I felt about season 1 of Stranger Things, where it was like, we've got a ragtag group of kids now who are going to get up to adventures. It's like, it's setting up Marvel's Goonies, basically, in a lot of ways.
I love it.
And I feel like in that respect, it absolutely nails it. I feel like the other part of it, the Marvel part of it, is where it struggled, and the kind of climax of it wasn't as exciting for me as I wanted it to be. But it did what it needed to nail what they were going for, and what they were going for was the kind of like bringing this character to screen, making her relatable, and allowing her to be this kind of beacon for a lot of people who aren't often represented in modern media. And in the same way that the comic series put Miss Marvel on the map and brought a lot of people to Marvel Comics because of their ability to relate to it, the TV show is doing the exact same. And as far as I'm concerned, as a fan of Miss Marvel, and if I was part of the creative team of Miss Marvel, and my goal was to just look at that comic book series and just pray that we could do something close to it, I would be proud that they did it. Like, I think this is an incredible show for that.
Really quick, I love that the first villain you pulled out was Aldrich Killian, of all people.
I was watching Iron Man 3 the other day.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
I was like, that's a deep cut.
I want to ask Joey what she thought, but really quick, the thing that I'm not as bothered with the villain side of it, like, I think the weird like decision to have like the villain side of it peak in the penultimate episode rather than the final episode, but this final episode reminded me a lot of the end of Miles Morales, the video game, almost, where it's like there is a villain there, and it's more of like establishment corporate kind of villain, like and the gentrification of their neighborhood and stuff like that. And I felt like, if anything, more the villains in the show was damage control, and that's kind of like what I took away from that, and like how they kind of are controlling people of color and stuff like that, especially that woman who, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, they wanted to be like, let's have like a really racist character in the show, but they weren't. Like, they were a little too scared to like just full on like call her racist in the show. Yeah. But
Agent Diva, I believe her name is.
Yeah, Diva. Diva. That was definitely a choice. Joey, what do you think about the show and the finale?
So this hits like a Miss Marvel in general. The show hits like a very Joey thing where, like, I'm such a sucker for like these like high school coming of age shows and stories. Like, we talk about my love for To All the Boys I've Loved Before and Never Have I Ever, and even like the Babysitter's Club show on
High
Netflix.
School Musical, the series.
Exactly. Like I love all of these shows. And what I like about this one is obviously I think it's really fun to see like somebody like fangirling about superheroes in this world, because I feel like we don't ever get to see like that side of things. It's just like superheroes exist in the MCU and like people are just fine with it. So it's fun to see like a generation of people that have grown up with that and how that like uh influences who they are. Obviously I think the representation in the show is so cool. Like I know there's a million things in the show that I don't have like context for, but I like that they don't over explain things, and it's just like one of those things where it's like, I know that that's not for me, but I know that there are a bunch of people that are watching that like that those moments really resonate for, and I just love that. Like I feel like we can all kind of pick and choose things. Like I remember feeling like that when I watched like the Karate Kid 2 and they went to an Oboen festival. I was like, I've literally never heard of anybody else but my family talk about going to Oboen and stuff like that. It's just like those little things that you pull from like growing up and stuff like that, that it's like, wow, like to see this like being showed in story to other people is really cool. In terms of the show, I think the thing that this has solidified for me is like Disney Plus shows are not, the villains are never going to hit the way that like I think they should, or I expect them to. And like at this point I think I've just kind of accepted that that's never going to be the strong point of the stories, and like to be honest, like that's not really why I'm watching them. But the show also solidified for me that I think the most exciting part of phase 4 and 5 coming up is this younger class of people that are coming up. I cannot wait to see Kamala hang out with Yelena and Peter Parker and Kate Bishop. Like, I think once we get all of these characters coming together, it's going to be really fun to see like all of their interactions. I'm thinking even like America Chavez from Doctor Strange, even though she hasn't really hit Disney Plus and stuff yet. I think that's like the part of Marvel stuff that I'm most excited for, which is something that I'm really glad that they've nailed, because with obviously the end of the Infinity Saga, losing a bunch of key players could put it in like a very precarious spot. So I think the fact that they have these like really strong characters and stories coming out is exciting for what's about to happen.
They're relaying the foundation, and that's not always like the most interesting part of like the storytelling, right? Of like getting the most interesting villains and stuff like that. But it's definitely what's needed, I think, to continue on and to get to the really cool crossover stuff, and to get to the cool villains and stuff like that you're gonna want to save for those big crossover events with all these different characters. So yeah, they're in a weird kind of almost like phase 1, phase 2 situation right now, which is, you know, you just kind of like, you gotta hang on, because eventually we'll get to like the phase 3 type of stuff again. That'll make it all worth it, you know.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff in this show that I kind of wrote down that I can rattle through. I know that we don't do like comprehensive stuff, but I always like, this is the stuff that like Joey was just mentioning, where I think of it as like I know people are going to be like, oh, more representation chat, but that's what this entire show is about. Like, I know in a lot of shows, like the most as a Pakistani Muslim, I'm expecting from a lot of modern media is a wink from most of the things that I get, like, you know, whether it's games, movies, TV, it's a wink, and I'm not expecting that. What I'm expecting is to be treated like a terrorist, is to be treated like a villain, or some sort of, you know, some sort of archetype, you know, that and it's always like a passing wink from whatever show or like movie or game I'm watching. This is a show where it reverses it, where it's nodding at the people who are Pakistani Muslim, and it's winking at everyone else. Like, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And I love that. And there's so much of it. There's early in it, there's like obvious stuff, like the agent is like, this is what happens when superpowers, when you get powers go to the wrong people. And the other agent's like, what do you mean wrong people?
Yeah.
And like that term I heard so many times. In the family part of it, the whole thing where she's like announcing that she's light girl or whatever, and everyone's like, oh wow, that is like the gossiping part of it, and the way that like information travels within like South Asian families is exactly on point. During that section, there's the dad. He says a phrase. He goes when she reveals it. He says "Toba," which is like a word which means like "dear God," but it's like he does it in a way where he's like not even trying to like hide the fact that he already knows, and she's like, "Oh, great." And there's some like really sweet stuff like don't volunteer going for trouble, volunteer for trouble, that which is really cool. I absolutely love that she gets her outfit from her mum and she gets her name from her dad, which I think is so beautiful. And the fact that they use her name Kamala to reveal, it means Marvel. It should have been way cornier. Maybe to some people it was corny, but when he said it, I knew he was about to say it, but his delivery of it was perfect.
Yeah,
like
I really loved the actor who plays the dad.
Yeah,
he's great.
Those sentimental moments he nailed throughout the show, and that was like Alyssa and I were tearing up a little bit at like 12:40 in the morning watching that.
Exactly, because like in any other situation, it would have been like you are a little pause for dramatic impact, Miss Marvel, and it would have been like da-na-na.
Yeah.
But he just rolls in with like very sweet, you are a little Miss Marvel, and it lands perfectly 100%. And as corny as it should be, I was like, that's beautiful. I love the whole Nakia having a secret boyfriend thing, which they don't like. It's really funny because I was expecting it to become a dramatic point because she's like speaking to Kamala and's like, this was the most important thing and you never told me. And meanwhile, she's hiding her boyfriend on the side.
I took that less of that was actually real and more of like,
that was
her being a bit
cover.
to distract them because he was like, yeah, I'm her boyfriend. I need video evidence like this is real, right? So that was a good bit though.
There's the halal and haram hat, which is incredible.
So good.
It's so good. For people who don't know, halal means permissible and haram means non-permissible. And he puts the halal hat on Kamran and then puts the haram hat on Bruno, which ironically, like if you asked any like if you asked Kamala's mum who she would deem halal or haram, or Amir, her brother, she would probably say Bruno is the halal one because he's keeping it. He's being careful, whereas Kamran is already like trying to date her and stuff. So he's the haram one, which I really loved. Do you even like British Bake Off was amazing? Where he's like questioning.
That was the most betraying part of the whole thing. So good.
He's like, are you even British? The Sweatshop Boys have been getting a lot of play in as musical beds. So the Sweatshop Boys, if you don't know, is a little group, a rap group basically, or production group, and the lead rapper is Riz Ahmed, who is the Sweatshop Boys are amazing. I love they've got a bunch of albums, they're all on Spotify. Riz Ahmed is, and you might not know this, but is an incredible rapper. Like he's battle rapped in his time.
That was the song that was playing when they're all like running throughout the school.
Yeah, right. But like, I think there's been a Sweatshop Boys song in 2 other episodes as well. There's definitely one in the premiere because I immediately heard it and I was like, that's Riz Ahmed. This must be Sweatshop Boys. Which is so cool. And then I love that her power culmination ends in Embiggen, which I did not expect at all.
That got like that gave me chills, like because I know like a lot of people were so kind of like wary of the power change that they were giving her for the show, and like the fact that like she can still have that moment where she is literally like really big, and it's still funny too because like her head is still the same size. So when she goes to the what is it, the damage control agents, she's like, "Are you guys okay?" And they're like, "Yes, Nightlight, thanks." It's just like really funny. Man.
That whole thing just smacks of, hey, we don't have the budget to embiggen every episode.
Yeah.
But we can put it in the last episode, and then the next thing she appears in is a movie.
Yeah.
So they will have the budget to embiggen the shit out of her. Like they will. So like I expect the Marvels to just have Kamala embiggening all over the place.
Yeah.
The other stuff I wanted to kind of briefly touch on. I really like Ruby, the one of the Illuminantes, mainly because that's Anjali Bhimani, who's the voice actress for Symmetra in Overwatch. I'm glad that she's in there. And then the other stuff I had was the name stuff was really cool. I really like Sheikh Abdullah, who is the leader of the mosque, who
Oh, yeah.
is
Yeah.
like when they come into the mosque and they like, what do you call it? He offers them cookies and he's like bannering, and then at the end he's like doing the TikTok where he's turned into a hot dog and he's like, "Oh, this is a halal hot dog."
Just
like
a just awkward like dad joke kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He nailed that vibe.
he's
so well.
amazing. And then like we'll talk about a certain moment later on, but like the most important moment for me is when she's standing in front of the mirror, and I think that I don't know how long it lasts. It's like a minute, but I really feel like Iman Vellani needs to be like commended for that scene, because if you watch it really closely, the amount of emotions that she goes through in that moment, I don't know if it's me just reading too much into it, but just like watch the micro expressions, watch the way she stands, the way she touches herself, and the way she kind of is looking at herself.
Yeah.
There's a moment in there where if you have spent your entire life not seeing yourself on TV or on movie screens, in books, in comic books, there's a moment where the kind of silent shuffling and kind of nervous twitching and readjusting herself that she does, that is going to hit so hard. I was watching it and like I could feel tears welling up in my eyes, because I was like, I know what she's thinking. I know what she's going through. She's thinking, can I do this? Do I belong here? Is there a place for me? And that moment is so powerful because she's thinking about it as a superhero. We're thinking about it as viewers who have now seen ourselves on TV and don't know what the future holds. And we're like, this last episode is like us looking back on this entire franchise, South Asian people, Pakistanis and Muslims, and assessing like, does this show do enough for us to show that we belong with everyone else? Does the show do what Black Panther did for Black people in a lot of ways? You know, there's a lot of other Black media that has done a lot of like important things, but obviously Black Panther was a big moment for people within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as was Shang-Chi. Like, this is our moment where we have to we are nervously looking at this entire series and going, was this enough? Could we do it? Was this enough to let us stand shoulder to shoulder with all these non-brown people who are just given the screen space and the representation, you know, as a matter of fact? And like, I thought it was so powerful, and I thought to myself by the end of it, like Miss Marvel, like Kamala did, where her final moment is like she smiles and she like stands a bit taller, and you can see she's built that confidence up to say like, I belong. I am one of these people. I am a superhero. I can do this. And in the corner, you can see her idol, just the corner of Captain Marvel's poster. And in that moment, I thought, yeah, this show absolutely did it. They did it. Now there's people out there who understand our culture better. And I think that this show proved that Pakistanis, Muslims, we can be a part of your fiction and your entertainment. And we can enrich it, and we can make it more exciting for you if you just let us and give us the opportunity to. So hopefully that is what happens going forward.
Yeah, I feel that was beautiful, by the way. I feel like so moved by everything you just said. Yeah, like, man, I'm so excited. I feel like this show also has made me very, very excited for the Marvels, which Captain Marvel was like not necessarily my favorite of the MCU movies, but the fact that we're getting more of Iman is very, very exciting. Before we talk about some Marvel's tie-ins, let me tell you about our sponsors.
Shout out to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this episode. When you use the bathroom, you always close the door behind you, right? Well, you don't want random passerbyers looking in on you, so why would you let people look in on you when you go online? Your internet service provider knows every single website you visit. ExpressVPN puts a stop to this. It creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet so that your online activity can't be seen by anyone. I use ExpressVPN on all my devices, whether it's my phone, my desktop, everything. Anytime I'm using the internet, just because I am trying to stay as safe as possible. The best part is using ExpressVPN is as easy as closing the bathroom door. You just fire up the app, You click one button and you're protected. It is so easy. It's the biggest button in the world. One click, you're done. So if you're like me and believe your online activity is your business, secure yourself today by visiting expressvpn.com/kindafunny. You can use our link, expressvpn.com/kindafunny, and you can get an extra 3 months free. That's expressvpn.com/kindafunny. This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. Are people still trying to make plans with you this summer? As if you aren't booked and busy already. But thankfully, MeUndies wants to help make this summer the most comfortable one you will never forget. Because when you're living your best life, the last thing you want to worry about is butt sweat. And I know that from experience. But you know what? MeUndies has always been there to help me. I'm always wearing my MeUndies shirts, my lounge pants, my lounge shorts, my undies themselves, the socks. I'm a MeUndies fanboy. Wouldn't have it any other way. I just absolutely love the soft micro-modal fabric. Find your ultimate summer comfort in sizes extra small all the way up to 4XL. MeUndies has a great offer for all of you out there. For any first-time purchasers, you can get 15% off. For a limited time, if you sign up for the free to join MeUndies membership, you get 25% off your first membership item. To get 50% off your order, 25% off your first membership item, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/kindafunny. That's MeUndies.com/kindafunny. Shout out to Athletic Greens for sponsoring this episode. I started taking AG1 because I'm not a big pill guy. I don't want to spend a lot of time on extra things, but I wanted to make sure that I was taking care of my health. Now, I've been using it the last couple months and I love it. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy. It has a fun tropical taste that I actually look forward to in the mornings. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/kindafunny. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/kindafunny to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. athleticgreens.com/kindafunny.
Okay. In terms of post-credit scenes, where do you guys want? Do you want to? Should we start with the second one?
Wait, wait, what was the first? Wait, there were two?
There's
like
two
mid-credits,
revelations.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Walk me through.
So the one I'm talking
so the
about
first
is the
one.
one about the jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they're in the car.
Right. Wait.
Yeah.
Wasn't that okay? I was
Mid credits. So I don't know how we're
okay.
classifying them.
I thought that was part of the show.
Yeah, I
Oh,
thought
my
that was
bad.
like before the show ended, but
Yeah,
there's
I
like
think so.
because there's like a there's the shot of her standing on like the light, and then she like runs off, and then it turns into like one, and then it does her symbol, and then I was like, oh, credits are about to roll, and then it turns into like a 1 week later thing. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's very like Marvel almost in the way that they do it.
So I don't know anything about the comics, so I don't really know anything about like what her like because she's not a mutant in the
No, she's an
comics,
Inhuman.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was it's interesting because the Inhumans were technically created to get around the issue of Marvel not having complete access to the mutants. So basically the Inhumans are mutants, but because Fox had all the licenses and the X-Men stuff was all popping off, they needed a way to have a version of mutants exist that they own completely. So they created the Terrigen stuff and Inhumans and that kind of stuff. But then obviously MCU blew up and they just rolled up with a big old dump truck of money and were like, we're taking that back.
Well, Inhumans have also been around for
they've been around for a
while.
really long time, with Black Bolt.
They had like, because I always see like images of Black Bolt and always think he's cool, and then I'm like, when it comes time to actually read Inhumans, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
He is cool, and I hate that he's been done so dirty by the movies and TV shows stuff.
Oh man, wasn't it cool when his brain blew up though? What a trip.
Oh man.
So,
but yeah, it was exciting to hear the little theme song.
I was like, when it happened, I was like, wait a second, did I just hear that, or did I?
Yeah,
like,
we had to roll it back too.
I like rolled it back,
did
and it was
too.
like, nope, that's definitely the X-Men theme.
Which is gonna be dope.
And
so
I love that it was this show too, because like literally every show, right? It was like they're gonna bring the mutants into WandaVision. No. They're gonna do it in this show. No. Oh, they're gonna do it in Multiverse of Madness. Kind of like it was Miss Marvel of all of the shows to be like, yeah, the mutants are coming.
They said the thing.
And
I also
wonder
love
what the implication of that is for the MCU as a whole there.
I also love that they use the animated theme music, which says a lot about the X-Men movies. Like, I could not hum the X-Men movie themes, even if I tried. Like, if you asked me to do it, but like, I love that they're embracing the X-Men animated series as the main kind of like.
Do they? Do the X-Men movies have a theme?
I think it's one of those situations. Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where it's so like not memorable that it's just like I can't
probably
remember,
just sounds like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man themes or something.
But they know that animated series, everyone knows it,
and they're also they're setting up
they're bringing it back.
They're setting up X-Men 97 as well, which is the animated show, which I think it was Tim who pointed out that in the Multiverse of Madness credits, they don't credit like the X-Men. They credit the X-Men song as the X-Men 97 theme, which is specifically the Disney Plus show that's coming out next year or whenever.
That's awesome.
Oh, interesting. Very excited about
that's
that.
Exciting.
And then the actual post-credit scene, we get at the very end, Kamala in her room. She gets sucked into her closet. And then we get our first like real big cameo, I feel like, from main MCU actors of Brie Larson.
Yeah.
What a fun. I feel like at this point throughout the shows, I had been expecting so many more cameos from like the mainline MCU movie actors that at this point I was like, I don't think that's the direction they're going for Disney Plus stuff. And now to get that, I think is very exciting. And I kind of hope that's how they open the movie, is like with them either trying to figure out where they are and link up or whatever, but I have no idea.
I firstly is like, I think did they like do like a body swap or a position swap where
I think so.
I would love it if like Kamala is suddenly in space in the middle of a fight. Like, what is going on?
Yeah,
I would love like that being the beginning of it, where like
she's like fighting
Captain Marvel. It's almost like there's like a. I mean, plenty of stories of like almost, even though they're not body swapping, but the position swapping, where she wakes up and she's in the middle of this fight, and it goes back to like Carol just being in like this random house, being like, "Oh, this is weird," just like walking down the street in Jersey, and then coming back to Kamala like screaming, like, "Ah!" Like, I think that would be really fun. It was really interesting because like I've had this theory, what do you call the thing on her wrist? I'm blanking.
The bangle.
The bangle. Like, I've had this theory that it's I know that they're from a different dimension, but we still also don't know a lot about the 10 rings from Shang-Chi. And I wonder if those are connected because they do look very similar in like almost like architecture of like weird like alien architecture, like the way they glow and stuff like that. They talk about in the 10 rings of like it's sending a beacon to somewhere, you know. And so I wonder if those are connected, and especially if this thing can transport her, and I wonder why it was connected to Captain Marvel in that way too. Is it just because it's connected to Kamala, and like Kamala was thinking of Captain Marvel in that moment?
The way I see it was like I think if I had to predict it, like there's got to be some sort of emotional energy transfer thing, because Kamran's mom did the same thing, right? When she interacted with the tear, she was able to basically put the energy into her son. So she must have been thinking about her son. She was, because it shows her saying Kamran's name in that moment. So I imagine my kind of read is like in that moment, like Kamala was thinking about Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and the transference was as a result of that, which makes some sense. But she could have been thinking about anyone at that moment.
And you see her like her fingers do get like crystallized as well a little bit with Carol. So that'll be interesting to see like where that like will Carol be able to kind of like borrow her powers a little bit and stuff like that. That'll be interesting. I also love that she got another haircut, because that's a joke that Rocket makes at Carol and Endgame of like, you're gonna get another haircut. So I love that it's just like any new appearance from Carol Danvers, she's just gonna have different hair, and I hope that bit continues in every single piece of Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel media.
I
Yeah,
love it.
there's already like set photos from the Marvels that have popped up showing
Ooh.
Iman like dressed in her outfit on set, which looks really cool.
God, I love like that was something that I was it was like a push and pull with me with the suit reveal. Is I was like, I love the suit so much, and I get like why you want to save it for the final episode, and because the reveal is so cool, and it's kind of like this build up to this get hype moment. I was like, damn, I wish we had this suit for like a couple more episodes rather than just this last episode, because I'm gonna be honest, like any other outfit that she had where she was like being nightlife, she looked kind of goofy, so it's just like,
Yeah.
oh man, I wish she had this outfit the entire time.
Yeah, this episode was very much about like she can like establish. My whole thing was like I need something to show off how that she's powerful, if you know what I mean. That she can graduate into bigger threats and be kicking it with the
And
other
her own hero and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah. I mean, like she has to her next step is to work alongside Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau and a lot of others. Like, so she needs to be, and I feel like this episode did it. She got her costume, and then she showed off that she's got embiggening and is powerful.
God.
And over the next, I imagine in the time between now and when they release in the timeline when we next see her, she'll probably have been trained up a bit and be like, I can do embiggening on command now.
Something else I wanted to bring up. I just talking about Kamran again for a second. Like I liked that they didn't vilify him in this episode, because I know that's what like Tim's fear was going into this final episode. It's like it's gonna be like a duel between a family type of stuff, and he's got the same power as her, but it's a different color kind of stuff. And I like that there was a little bit of infighting, because he is so angry with like being left behind by his mom, how he's being treated by damage control and all this stuff, and just kind of feeling lost and abandoned, and not her necessarily fighting him because of like how much he wants to lash out, but like kind of protecting him from himself in a way, and trying to just like calm down the situation a bit, like have a moment with him, like where she like makes the bubble around them, and like actually just like talks to him for a minute, and she's like, I'll give you time, like just go like figure yourself out a little bit, like I have in these last 6 episodes almost. And I love that he gets to sneak off and hang out with I forget what the
Red Daggers.
Yeah, the Red Daggers and stuff like that. And I'm interested. Like it did a well enough job where I'm like, I want to see Kamran again. I want to see what he's up to. And
he'll be back. He'll be back as a Red Dagger. I think he'll show up next time, because the whole thing that they were setting up was like there's a kind of tension between the Red Daggers and his family, and I think that they're gonna go for like, oh, he's back and he's a Red Dagger now, and they've like kind of resolved some of those issues or whatever it may be, and then that will be the tension where I imagine there's going to be something that will split his loyalty. Maybe there's a way to bring back his mom. Maybe there's a way to enter the Jinn kind of realm and see if she's there. And then he'll have to choose allegiances between Red Dagger and Kamala, and potentially getting his mom back and doing what she tried to do in a way.
Interesting.
I also the other thing that the only question marks I had in this episode was like, so this white girl is just really just gonna insert herself into this episode.
She just rolled up out of nowhere.
Fucking weird. And I was like, in the back of my head, I was like, the almost pessimistic side of me was like, I feel like this was Disney being like, hey, we need 2 white best friends, not just one, because there's like 3 people of color, and like it's 3 to 1, and like with people of color to white people, we gotta like balance out a little bit, and that's just like how that came off to me, and I was just like, I was kind of sold on it, where she was like, I owe you, and it's like, but still, why are you here? Like, what?
How did you get here? Is the question.
How did you even know that they were here? I did love the bit where why am I blanking?
She said she was like practicing
Zoe.
or whatever, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
she was there for like theater, whatever the fuck it was.
Which is like such a throwaway, like,
sad,
what
but again, it was just like weird set dressing to like make an excuse for her to be there. But I love the bit where Amir comes in and he's like, Mom told me to follow you, and she's like, superheroes don't need babysitters
chaperones.
like that.
Yeah.
That moment was great. The coming up with the plan I really loved. Again, it was like really selling the whole friends, family, community thing that I just really dug.
Yeah, I will say the whole part with Zoe like just randomly copying and pasting herself into that scenario was like wild, because she literally appears and you're like, oh, what the, how did you, there's that.
Yeah.
But then she like, I liked her character almost immediately. Like, she was fun. Like, she was like, I owe you, which was like, okay, cool. And then there's the bit where she's breaking the glass to get the extinguisher out, and she's like, doing it very gingerly and like taking the glass out a bit, and then like she gets kind of like folded into the main plan where she literally proves herself to be an ally by using her platform to give voices to others. And like that line was like, okay, they should have just did it. She didn't need to say it because she did it in her actions, right? She like,
because the way that she says it, it's like, all right, well, now it's a performative thing rather than you genuinely wanting to do it, and that's how it came across. But again, it sets up character growth.
It reminded me so much of the scene in Endgame where they're like, she's not alone, and then all the women appear and land, which I was like, that's cool as fuck, but also it's very shoehorned. Like, I loved it when like what'd you call it? What's her name? Evangeline Lilly's character in
the
Wasp. Where she appears and she's like adjusting her thing and walking. I was like this is so badass. Yeah. It's so badass. But then you're like,
there's a way to do it like The Boys, where it's like the girls get it done moment where they're all kicking the shit out of the Nazi lady at the end of season 2. Like, there's a way to do it and not be like, you're doing like,
yeah.
And this hold on it until Gwyneth Paltrow showed up. I was like, okay, maybe.
She's like, it's me. Can I interest you in some goop? And you're like, nah, not right now, Gwyneth. But like, she like Zoe's character did it in terms of her actions were great. They should have just left it as that. They didn't need to like wink at the audience to be like, ally. She used her platform to bring attention to the help needed by these kids, these brown kids, and brought the community to them. And that should have been it. And the people who knew, who know what was going and could read that properly would have been like, well played, that's well done. But then they did the thing where she was like, I am an ally. And you're like, okay, all right.
Oh, man.
What a fun show. Tam, Barrett, thanks so much for hanging out and chatting with me about this today. It's been really fun.
Thanks for having me.
If you guys are digging more Miss Marvel conversation, you can either watch it live tomorrow if you're a patron, or you can get it on Friday on YouTube and podcast services. And they'll rank it and you'll get to hear all of their feelings about it. We're gonna have a screencast next week, I think. Not quite sure what it's about. Maybe we'll do a recap because I really want to talk about The Bear and like some other fun shows.
And as a quick note, just related to Marvel stuff, I also finally saw Thor: Love and Thunder yesterday, and it was a fun time. It was a silly time, but it was a fun time.
Classic Taika. Classic. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.